Felix here, Alan Joe Felix from Sturgeon Lake First Nation, Saskatchewan. He's known for his work in language revitalization. He's an elder, knowledge keeper, and a translator of the spoken Plains Cree language. AJ has been part of the Cree resources that will be available today.
Mic test 1, 2. Oh yeah, I'm a loud guy. I got to teach Cree. So it's got to be loud. My name is AJ, and before I get into the language discussion, I want to tell you a story. I was born December the 24th, 11:45 p.m., 15 minutes before Christmas. My mom had me within the 15 minutes of the previous year, and for some strange reason, my parents called me Alan Joe. And then I became a worker out there, and every office that I can remember, from band office all the way to the Ottawa office. I worked in many offices. I held many posts. And I got to meet a lot of colleagues, a lot of good friends during the 35 years I served. And they called me AJ, my colleagues. And then they found out that I was born Christmas Eve. So, of course, AJ stands for something? They said, yes, it does. Almost Jesus. Now you'll never forget. I have been a Cree language. I survived the residential school Cree banning. I was a residential school student, and we were supposed to lose our language, and many of us did. Many of us lost that beautiful language. I'll tell you that a bit of a history on any of our languages. Some of you here, I know, are not Cree. But those languages that we received were gifted to us in a spiritual way. They were gifted to us in a, I learned during the course of my years that there are spirits out there that teach us. And those spirits taught us our language. Why the whole tribe is now Cree? Why the whole tribe is now Anishinaabe? Dakota stretched just about from coast to coast. And they can understand each other, and they know what's the name of that bird in that language. The Crees from northern Canada all the way to southern United States, Virginia, they've got a name for that bird. They do. I've talked to them, and how did it happen that such a language was spoken and known? And why did the governments, not only the governments, but the visitors the visitors that came to visit us, why did they try to destroy that language? The reason why that happened, that language is a sacred language. It was given to us in a sacred way, and that language is powerful. We were taught many things on that language, even our elders. Many of you were privileged to have elders that spoke to you. They even said, watch what you say. They said that, watch what you say. You can hurt a person by what you say in that language. It's that powerful. So I want to be I thought maybe we were doing this program tomorrow, but I'm ready anytime anyway. My name is AJ. I'm the National Pipe Keeper for Treaties 1 to 11 and have been there over 25 years with my wife. She's sitting at the end over there. Her and I, she's the co-fire keeper of Treaties 1 to 11. I'm the fire keeper. Her and I, although we are residential school survivors and had a rough life, her and I have been together for 57 years this year. And I know I've forgotten the number of grandchildren and great-grandchildren we have. We have a big family, yeah. After being taught in schools that said, no Cree allowed, going on a truck to the residential school where they chopped off my hair, my braids. And they told me I was going to have moms in school that will love us, fathers that will be our dads. That's what they told my parents. The first morning after we arrived in that residential school and the nuns were waking us up, she slapped my face first thing in the morning because I didn't understand. She told me to get up in English. I was pure Cree. I want you to know that that language is a sacred language. I learned that over the course of the years. They even try to promote, the elders try to promote us and say, when you lift that pipe, try to use the Cree language. When you lift it. When you pray, try to use your Cree language. But because over 100 years now, the governments of the day decided they want to get rid of, first, they wanted to get rid of the buffalo because they wanted to farm Canada. And then the buffalo to farm and to starve the Indians. Get rid of the Indians. And then the next thing they wanted to do was kill the fireplace of the First Nation people. Why? Well, they're learning their Cree from their mom and dad, and their grandpa and their grandma put out that fire. Get the children out of that log house. Send them to residential school where they'll forget that language and leave it. They'll also lose the bond they have with their moms and their dads. They'll lose that bond, that love, that relationship of the home. And they'll also lose grandma and grandpa's teaching. Take them out of that area so they won't be able to talk to their grandma and grandpa. What will happen is this. They'll go to that school and they'll forget the language and they'll also not know how to pray in their language. Or they will not know traditional prayer and ceremony. Pull them out of there. Kill that fireplace, because that's where their power is. Their power is in that language. Their power is in that home. And their power is in that kinship. To win. That's their power. Kill that power. And we'll be able to do with them what we want to do with them. That's what governments did. They hired, I don't have any qualms against religious people, but they did hire religious people to supervise all the residential schools. And what the government of the day told them to do was this. All right, your job in these residential schools, yes, you can teach them the cunning of the white man. But your main role is this. We want you to teach the Indian out of those Indians. Teach the Indian out of the Indian. And that's basically what has happened to all of us. We've lost language in our home. We've lost traditional praying in our home. Many of us my age, and I'm pushing 80 years old now. I had to go, after I spent 13 years in residential schools, I had to spend 15, 20 years getting back from my grandpa what I lost all through those years. The stories, the ceremony. I'm still a Catholic. I was raised a Catholic, right from day one. And I'm still a Catholic, and I'm not saying anything bad against Catholic. No. What I'm saying is those men and those women that were hired to do the dirty work of the government today are crying for what they did them. They're crying. And they're sorry that government had them, paid them, to supervise and to enforce the loss of language and the loss of traditional ceremony. They know today that they made a mistake. As an adult, as a Catholic, as a traditional man now, with a pipe, and a wife with the pipe, a home that's Catholic and traditional, going through to traditional ceremonies year-round, summer sun dances. We go to powwows. We even lead in powwows. We just come from one in Yorkton. And sweat lodges, praying. We are glad that we were able to go back to our roots, what our old people taught us. Tomorrow morning I'm going to be here again, and I'm going to talk about the TP, not the structure, but what was taught in the TP by our old people tomorrow. So if you can, come back at 11 o'clock. I'm speaking from 11 to 12 to talk about the home. What was our home? And today I want to talk about the language and the attempt to destroy our language. And I would say that a good 80% of that language was yet indeed destroyed. I have been to reserves that have lost over 90% of their language. Even the elders that are in the reserve are no longer traditional speakers, language speakers. And that's how much hurt, that's how much investment government made to destroy a people. That's us. Many of our people died in those institutions. They died in those institutions, and they suffered in those institutions. Many of them didn't come home. You'll notice that all the residential schools across Canada are now finding little graves. That's how many of our people never made it home. We were forced into that institution. I want to say I'm saddened by what happened to us. But I've learned in the course of time to be a forgiving person. That's what our old people taught us. Be a forgiving person, and then you won't have to live with that for tomorrow morning. Know how to forgive. And it took me a while to forgive. The wife and I were trying to raise children, but nobody taught us how to be mums and dads. I'll talk about that tomorrow morning. Nobody taught us that. We had a big, difficult time, the first 15 years of our marriage, to try to raise our children. And I'm pretty sure many of you sitting in this room understand what I'm talking about. All the issues and problems that we had after we come out of residential school. Today, I'm going to be talking to you on one specific language, but all our languages are worth learning. All our languages. If you're a Dakota, if you're a Soto, you need to start learning that language, and your children need to learn it, because it was a gift from the Creator. It wasn't just a handout. It wasn't a university-driven language. No, it was a spirit-given language. Nehiawe win is what I'm talking about today, and I have material here on this language. And I want to start off this particular class. It's called the Plains Cree language, Plains Cree. I'm sorry I don't have other material to show your language, some of you's your language and your dialect. Just like even the Cree, the Plains Cree that I'm speaking about, I don't have the Woodland Cree, I don't have the Swampy Cree, I don't have the Quebec Cree. I only have the Plains Cree. And in the Plains Cree family, there are over 350 First Nation reservations with that language. We are not unique. I'll say Tanse, Namoya in my Plains Cree. And in the Woodland Cree, Namuda. Woodland Cree, Namuda. In the Swampy Cree, Namuna. And in Quebec Cree, Namola. See? But you'll understand when they're talking what they said. No. They said no. This language keeping, traditional language keeping, is our responsibility. the church and government tried to destroy it on us, we got to revive it. They spent millions of dollars trying to kill it. Millions. And I'm saying the schools that they built, all the staff that they hired, and a big department called Indian Affairs was hired to supervise the killing and genocidal treatment of our people. Yet, it did not destroy us. We are still here. Our old people are still teaching us. And our old people, grandmas and grandpas, are still teaching us. We're not losing. We're not losing. In fact, now we're learning. I want to learn because my children and my grandchildren, they deserve the work and the effort and the success that I can be to retaining that language. Nia A.J. Felix. I'm A.J. Felix from the Cree territory, and my traditional name is Walking Bear, given to me by the old ladies in the lodge. And I also am A.J. Felix. The elders in the lodge, the old men, they gave me a traditional name, Kiheu Kapimihat, Flying Eagle. I'm one of the few Cree language producers of the Plains Cree language text. It's not the Woodland Cree. Yes, Saskatchewan made one. This is the Plains Cree text. And it was made by Pepigasis, Sturgeon Lake, and Little Red, this book. This is a book. It's a workbook, and it's got something like 95 20-minute lessons on Cree speaking. And it's now available for distribution. I wish governments and religious people would have supported the printing and the development of this book, but they didn't. They were the ones that disrupted our people to make us lose such a valuable tool such as our language. I'm going to ask one of my help here to start this so you can see the first page of the book. And it's the opening prayer in Cree. I have the workbook, and I also have the coloring book for the little people. Yeah, go ahead. And put it loud enough so. Yeah. There is volume on that machine you just put in. Somebody come and turn the volume on in this computer. I have daughters that do this for me, but they were unable to come. Okay. See that guy speaking over there? That's me. I'm the one that is speaking in the whole book, and I teach from lesson to lesson. And they're only meant to be 20 minutes long because that's the attention span of children. 20 minutes, that's long enough. And same with you at home, you can turn that lesson on, and it'll teach you, it'll tell you, you can have 2 lessons a day as an individual who lost their language and who want to regain their language. And that's what these, can you turn it on to another lesson? Yeah, the volume guy is coming. And turn it quite loud so people can hear my beautiful voice. Yeah, maybe hand it out just for pursuing and looking at, and by the end of the session, we will have a. Just pass it randomly. I want them back. I want them back. It says, "Our Father, the great Creator," and this is how it goes in Cree. Plains Cree. Nuktawinan kisemantu. Now repeat after me. Turn it right up. Nuktawinan kisemantu. Again. Yeah. Tansin wako magantik. There it is. En anaskum muano tego gisita masnaigans. Masnaigan tane hiao ake. My friends and relatives, it is indeed my pleasure to present to you a lesson on Cree language speaking. My name is A.J. Felix from Sturgeon Lake, and I have my brother Jim Felix and his wife Jeanette to be the audio-visual specialists on the production of this video. This video can be used in your classroom. Your classroom can take a lesson plan according to their abilities and the speed. And so what we will do is we will present you this book. This is the book that will be used during this Cree speaking learning exercise. I want to thank Pat Dieter for being the creator of this book, along with the Cree speakers that made sure that the Cree language, the Plains Cree language was used, and Elmer Valentine from Montreal Lake, and also Ines Dieter, our old lady from Pipikasis. This is a Pipikasis book, and it's going to be used for distribution in anywhere in the Plains Cree family of Canada and the United States. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to take you to page 10 of the exercise, and we'll try to explain things so that you can follow along with me when we read. This book is kind of like the Lord's Prayer. It says, "Our Father, the great Creator." And this is how it goes in Cree, Plains Cree. Nuktawinan kisemantu. Now repeat after me. Nuktawinan kisemantu. Again. Nuktawinan kisemantu. Our Father, the great Creator. We chihinan anochkagi sigag. We chihinan anochkagi sigag. Repeat after me. We chihinan anochkagi sigag. Help us here today. Nianan kitawa simisak. Nianan kitawa simisak. Repeat after me. Nianan kitawa simsak, all of us your children. Na pewak iskwewak. Repeat after me. Na pewak iskwewak. Repeat after me again. Na pewak iskwewak. Men and women. Na pe sisak iskwe sisak. Repeat after me. Na pe sisak iskwe sisak. Again. Na pe sisak iskwe sisak. Boys and girls. Ekwa ka kiau. Ekwa ka kiau. Ekwa ka kiau. And everyone, repeat after me. Ekwa ka kiau. Ekwa ka kiau. And everyone. Kutakak ay sinuwag. Kutakak ay sinuwag. Kutakak ay sinuwag. Repeat it. Kutakak ay sinuwag. Other peoples. Uta aski. Uta aski. Repeat after me. Uta aski. Uta aski. Here on earth. Hi, hi. Hi, hi. Thank you. I am grateful. Say that again. Hi, hi. Thank you. I am grateful. Kinanas komitinan. Kinanas komitin. Kinanas komitin. Repeat after me. Kinanas komitin. Kinanas komitin. Thank you. That's your pre-prayer. And if I say it all together, it'll sound like this. Nuhtawi nan kise manitu. Wichihinan anoskagi sigag. Nia nan kitawa simisak. Napewak iskwewak. Napesak iswesak. Ekwa kakiao. Kotakak ay sinowak. Utaskik. Hai hai. Kinanas komitin. That's your opening prayer, your Cree prayer to this book. The way I said it in Cree, here's the way it'll sound in English. Our Father, the great Creator, help us here today, all of us your children, men and women, boys and girls, and everyone, other peoples here on earth. Thank you. I am grateful. That's your opening prayer. Plains Cree little book. And it's not necessarily just for children. It's also for adults and elders. I don't know if you have to press the next button for the next lesson. Just the first time. Tansin wako magantik. And the naskum muano tego gisita. That's the opening page of the book. And I want to say I'm going from community to community teaching some of this language. It's the company that we formed is called Four Spirits. Four Spirits, Plains Cree Language Training Limited. And we have an invoice. We have an invoice here for the actual printing and the actual development of the book. There is an invoice for it. It's $75. But it's also a workbook for students in the classroom. So every one of those students should have a book that they can follow along. And we have an invoice if you wish, if you are interested today. We have an invoice. You can pick up a copy of this invoice and take it home and work it through your school system or the authorities on your reserve to buy. We have a Cree coloring book for your little people. And in the coloring book it says, that's a baby. It's a baby. And the word at the bottom of that coloring is awasis. Awasis. While your child is learning to color that baby, your child will also learn that it's baby awasis. A very small, tiny child. Here's another coloring of people. These two here are Nehiawak. They're Cree people. Nehiawak. Those coloring books are available from me, and they are $25 per coloring book. Another coloring book is coming. This is a human, this is the Plains Cree people. Another coloring book is coming on animals. The next coloring book is on animals. So I wanted to, how much we lost. What a great loss we had. I know I was in Treaty 4, and it was a national gathering, Treaties 1 to 11. And the university students from Regina came, and we gave them the privilege of bringing in the flags one day of that 4 days. And there were several hundred of them. These are university students. And one thing that I said to them really made an impression on their lives. What I said was, I'm sorry that we weren't able to stop the attack on our language. I'm sorry that we were unable to pass on our language to you, now a university student. But I want to say this. Let's make a very serious effort to learn the language. And we are speakers of that language to teach that language. Wow, what a privilege. My mom was a straight Cree woman. She did not let me, when I got home, Christmas time or Easter time, to speak English. She told me, you speak Cree, you're a Cree boy. And I spoke Cree to my mom. And I was able to retain and keep my language. All of my siblings, we were able to keep our language. So I'm urging you, what material we have here, utilize it. For you, not only you, but also for those children that should be able to say, Tansi atawya nuhta. How are you, my daddy? Tansatawya ni mama. Tansatawya, how are you, mom? Or you can say, Ntutem, nitutem, my friend, my relative, ntutem. Tanse atawya. Our language has no swear words. It has none. Our language is one of the prized gifts that we got from Wisake Chak, the teacher, Kstesno, the teacher. We learned that language in a spiritual way. You know, other things that we learned, I seen some medicines in the hallway there. We know how to mix 10, 15 medicines to have a direct result. Not from each other, from Wisake Chak, the one that taught us how to mix those medicines to get that healing power. We got that in a spiritual way. We didn't get it in a textbook. Many of us were taught stories from our old people. I happen to be one of those lucky people, 8 kids, 9 kids in our home, and our grandma lived with us, and our grandma lay on the floor with us in feather mattresses, and she lay there, but she was the one that started that winter evening with that story that we waited for all day, all afternoon to hear, because it's carrying on for a story that's been on for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And the next happening was going to happen, something exciting was going to happen, but she stopped it right there for the next night. So, of course, we were eager to get back to bed the next night. And I used to be one of the little wrestling kids to try to sleep close to Kokum, to get the story firsthand. And the way she used her hands, her mouth, the sounds, by golly, it's got to be better than television, stereo, and HD, the way she used to tell those stories. We didn't have power, we didn't have TV, but we had Grandma. Some of us were privileged with Grandpa. And that's where I got many of my stories. I'll tell you one in Cree. It's still winter. I can say it. Wisake Chak's story. Wisake he wandered in the forest, and he can talk to all the animals, and he understood all the animals. Wisake Chak, our big brother, the teacher of languages, of medicine, of life. One day he was walking the forest. And when he was walking the forest, he was chatting with the trees, chatting with the grass, chatting with the birds. And but he had one problem. He had a scab near his ass, a scab. So he's walking, He didn't even notice that he dropped his scab somewhere on the trail. So neither did he notice that he walked in a big circle. And all of a sudden, didn't he find a piece of meat on the road? Dry meat. Somebody dropped his dry meat on this trail. Must be for me. So he picks it up. And he starts to nibble at it. Tastes pretty good. And two birds were laughing on a tree. Wisake-chak, you're nibbling on a piece of meat that come from near your ass. What? No way. Yes. This morning you walked here, you dropped it. Oh, no. So he threw it away. He threw away that piece of meat, and it landed on a birch tree. And it stuck on a birch tree. That's another story. Chaga. Well, chaga was made. That's another story. But here's the moral of that story. Most stories that were told by Kokum and Mushum there's a moral to the story. What Wisake-chak taught us on that story, here he was. He walked around. He picked up his own scab. The moral of that story was, watch what you say about other people, because that's going to come around, and it's going to hit you between the eyes. If you're going to say something, if you're going to gosh up something good about that person, and you'll hear something good about you on the road. Don't hurt people. Don't hurt people. Because somewhere, someplace, sometime, somebody's going to hurt you or hurt your children. That's the moral of that Wisake-chak. It's a life teaching tool. Pray for everybody, and everybody over there is going to be praying for you. So I thought maybe I'd close with that this morning. If you wish to have a conversation on the book, we'll be here. And tomorrow we're going to do TP. TP fireplace tomorrow morning. Hi, hi. Thank you.
Kananas kumano wawakapi pik squid kapiasu no maya tumuwen ni hiyo pik squiwen ikwan ni hiawiwen. Kananas kumpnan.
Thank you for the privilege. Hi, hi.